What's going on, Bulls family? It's your boy Haize, back with more Bulls fans hot takes on Wednesday as we bring every single week. Today's takes are about the Bulls making real leaps, Josh Giddey's potential triple-double averaging season, Matas Buzelis making a jump under Tiago Splitter, and could Leonard Miller find himself in the conversation for top 5 most improved players of the year? You guys really brought it with this week's hot takes, and I appreciate you guys for all the love and support. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and subscribe to Bulls Without Borders, where you're going to be getting this episode. Also, my brother Neil is going to be bringing a Battlegrounds episode once a week as well that actually debuts tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. And then every Saturday, you get the Red Summits, where we all come together for a joint episode and a roundtable discussion. But with that said, this is about hot takes. It's about your Bulls fans' hot takes, and we're going to jump into that today. The first one comes from Levante Rogers, who says that the Bulls will win more than 40 games this upcoming season. Man, this is a take of all takes to start off this episode with. A 40-plus win start of the season would mean that the Bulls are either right one game below 500, at 500, or even possibly above 500 in the first season of a rebuild under Bryson Graham and head coach Tiago Splitter. That would mean that the Bulls are on such a right internal development path that I could not say enough about that. Last season was one of the first years in a while that every team in the Eastern Conference that made the play-in, the playoffs or the play-in was above 500 record. So the Chicago Bulls getting that would be crazy if they're able to have an above 500 record in the first year of a rebuild. I think what you have to come down, what makes this possible, or if this would be possible, is that A, whoever the Bulls drafted number 4 would have to hit the ground running and be great right away. And then you need to see quite a bit of a development from Josh Giddey and Matas Buzelis, their first year under Tiago Splitter, and probably would even mean that the Bulls probably sign somebody like a Walker Kessler or somebody in free agency as well. Those things happen. Those things are things that I think would have to happen if the Chicago Bulls are going to be able to really get above 500 next year, get 40-plus wins, right? You know, I wouldn't hate this, but especially if it comes via the growth of Matas, growth of Josh Giddey, the number 4 overall pick that comes in, and maybe even 15, proving himself to be an NBA starter, or at least a above average rotational player right away. Bulls fans are not asking for this team to have an above 500 record, to be 40-plus, just to be watchable and actually look like you're moving and progressing towards something. But I tell you what, if the Bulls start off this first year of a rebuild with above 40 wins, that would be a hell of a start of the season for the Chicago Bulls. So I'm gonna file this one under. It's interesting. I do think it's a bit of a long shot, but I do think some things could happen if kind of everything aligns for the Chicago Bulls. Anything's definitely possible. But all right, with that said, let's get into the next hot take for the Chicago Bulls, man. And this one is that Josh Giddey from Malachi Mabin says that Josh Giddey will average a triple-double this season. I don't think that this is a craziest take to say, right? Because I do think when you look at the way Tiago Splitter runs his offense and how like he ran Denny at point guard basically for a lot of the season, is that we've seen Josh Giddey flirt with averaging a triple-double, right? Or have stretches where he can average a triple-double. And I don't think it's going to be a high, like a 25-point triple-double or anything like that. But even if Josh averages 16, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, I think it would mean that Tiago Splitter trusted him to truly have the keys of this offense. Josh Giddey averaging double-digit rebounds, I think, is a foregone conclusion. The offensive side of the ball and him averaging 10-plus assists, I think, comes down to how much command, how healthy he stays for one, how much command he has over that offense, and how much he has to create for others. If we draft a player like Caleb Wilson, if we sign a player like Walker Kessler, something like that, like it's going to take, like those guys in the half court are going to rely a lot on Josh Giddey. I think it's going to take more than just pace for Josh Giddey to get there. We know that he has elite positional size, the rebounding, the passing, the feel for the game, that's all there. The scoring part of the game, I think Josh Giddey averaging double-digit points is easy, especially in an offense like this. But he's going to have the balls in his hands, not just a lot, but a huge portion of the Chicago Bulls offense is going to have to go through him to get that done. Team spacing, the pacing as well is all going to play an important reason under that. And under Tiago Splitter, I think it would matter very heavily, right? This is a hot take for a reason. Averaging a triple-double is not impossible for Josh Giddey, but it's such a rarity in the NBA. If Josh Giddey does it, it means that he not only has grabbed the reins of the offense, but also been the focal point of how you start and at least initiate your offense. If Josh Giddey averages a triple-double, the Bulls season is just not a normal season. It also means that the offense has completely changed to mold itself around Josh Giddey. And not to say that that's completely outside the realm of possibility, but we just got to see what's going to happen in regards to that. All right, let's get to our next hot take. This one is from Kobe, who says that Leonard Miller will be top 5 in most improved player of the year conversations. This is one that I think it's going to be hard to do. And the reason why I say that is this. Typically, when you see players get in the most improved player of the year conversations, it means that they have to average a clearly double-digit points and over 15 points per game usually. And I think that's going to be difficult for Leonard Miller because of who's going to be ahead of him. It's going to be Matas ahead of him. It's going to be Caleb Wilson or Cam Boozer ahead of him, as well as the starting forwards on this team. And then you're even looking like if Jalen Smith's still on this roster, how much he may be above Leonard Miller in the rotation as well. And that's not to say that Leonard isn't going to be given a lot of opportunities. I just think that to win most improved player of the year, you typically have to be a starter to do that. And I just don't think Leonard Miller is going to be a starter on this team. But to say it, he's going to need consistent minutes. His transition play was really good. His defensive versatility was good. His rebounding was good. The improved shooting as well, if he brings that, is going to definitely help him pop as well. I think that a Leonard Miller that is in the most improved player of the year conversations will mean that he has to leapfrog quite a bit of players and show himself a lot. I think he's going to be good. And I think that Leonard Miller is worth investing to see what he can become. But I do think that most improved player is hard because you need numbers, you need narrative as well. And I think that there's still a question on how big of a role Leonard Miller is even going to really earn with the Chicago Bulls team because of what we talked about. I do think that the two-way play is going to be there. He's going to have those moments. He's going to have those flashes, and it's going to be very fun to watch him. But I do think that Leonard Miller I don't know if he's going to have the type of role on this Bulls team to win most improved player of the year personally. But hell, I've been wrong before. I could be damn well wrong again. I tell you what, I want to see everybody on this team have a chance to succeed. If Leonard Miller earns that, so be it. All right, let's get into the next one, man. This one is from Santoku, who says that Rob Dillingham would flourish under Tiago Splitter. This is interesting, right? Because I think that when you look on this would be a huge sign of player development. It would be a huge sign that Rob Dillingham has also shown himself to be, more consistent. But here's the thing. And this could be narrative, right? But I think that us hearing that the Bulls are looking for a guard in this draft kind of may signify how they expect Rob Dillingham to play. The thing that really did stand out to me about Rob Dillingham when he did get minutes is how good of a passer he can be. The shot making is going to be more difficult for him because of the size. I think the spacing on the Chicago Bulls get cramped as well. But when you have as much of a development focused roster as the Chicago Bulls are going to have, if Tiago Splitter really does like what Rob Dillingham brings, whether in change of pace guard, in the half court, all those type of things. But Dillingham's going to need spacing and he's going to need pace to maximize his strengths. And not to say the Bulls aren't going to play with spacing and space. I just think that it's going to be difficult for Rob Dillingham to crack that rotation. And hearing what we're hearing, it just kind of seems like maybe they're not as in on Dillingham. And the defensive side of the ball for Dillingham is a lot as well, right? But I'll say this. I like this take because young guards need a coach who lets them make plays. And, we've talked about Tiago Splitter and how he likes to bring that freedom with control, right? Like that structured freedom that he likes to bring to the offense. Rob Dillingham under Tiago Splitter is either going to be controlled chaos or he's going to be an offensive spark plug that the Bulls absolutely do need. I guess we'll see under that one. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This is one from my brother Pads, who's the producer of Bulls Without Borders, who says that Matas will average 20-plus points per game next season under Tiago Splitter. This is interesting, right? Because Matas Buzelis is going to be a central and focal point projectedly under the Chicago Bulls, right? Like you look at it, even if Josh Giddey's running the offense, Matas Buzelis is going to have a chance to get a lot of shots for the Bulls next year in transition. The middle of the court's going to be opened up a little bit more for him. I think even if we drafted Caleb Wilson, with Caleb Wilson's shooting roles, Matas is going to have a lot of opportunity to shoot last year. I always like to go to the month of March for Matas Buzelis last season, where he did average 20 points per game on 16 shots per game, shot 44% from the field, 36% from three in that time period. I think that we could see a lot more months like that for Matas Buzelis last season than we've had any season under Billy Donovan, mainly because of the state of the rebuild, because of the state of the offense and things like that. I'll say this. I think there's a high probability for this to happen, right? I'm not going to say that Matas Buzelis averaging 20 points is easy, but I am saying that the Bulls are going to stop treating upside like something you admire from a distance, and we're going to see Tiago Splitter really embrace the young players and them having a defined role very much early on in him than what they did with Billy Donovan. I think at some point you're just going to give Matas Buzelis and the young kids the ball and let them grow. And I think Matas Buzelis averaging 20 points per game last year under structure, and if he does it on really good efficiency, it really does set a really nice tone for the rebuild and the new direction of the Chicago Bulls as well. All right, let's get into the last hot take that we have for today. This one comes from my brother Philly, who says that the Chicago Bulls will sign Walker Kessler to an offer sheet that the Utah Jazz don't match. Listen, maybe a couple of months ago I wouldn't have agreed with you, but now that we've heard that the Utah Jazz offered him $28 million a year, and we already had heard previously that their cap for Walker Kessler was around $30 million per year. If the Chicago Bulls really do want Walker Kessler, they have the ability to put out an offer sheet of $30+ million for him to really force the Utah Jazz to decide if they're going to match it or not. And with the Utah Jazz having so much investment in the front court with Filipowski, Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson Jr., right? They could also say, look at this draft and try to get a center in this draft, or they can make a pivot towards a Mark Williams or somebody that's going to be out there in free agency. I think that this is a strong possibility of it happening. I'm not saying that the Bulls should be favored to sign Walker Kessler, but I do think that this is the type of move that sounds wild until you really sit back and think what the Bulls actually need. They need rim protection. They need size. They need defensive identity. And these are not small things, and Walker Kessler brings a lot of that. Walker Kessler coming to Chicago would not just be a signing. It would be a signing that that also helps establish the defensive identity that you're trying to establish for this team long term. And therefore, this is a really fun take, and we'll see. This is a realistic thing that could happen for the Chicago Bulls. He'll be 25 the majority of next season, which fits the Bulls' timeline as well. It's definitely a possibility for that. But that's going to do it for today's Hot Take episodes with Bulls Without Borders. Shout out to Levante, Malachi, Kobe, Santaku, Pods, and Philly. And thank you for those guys for putting in those hot takes, man. Today we talked about a lot. Bulls potentially getting 40 wins, Josh Giddey averaging a triple-double, Rob Dillingham flourishing under Tiago Splitter, and Leonard Miller being in top of the Most Improved Player of the Year award. Like, you guys are really killing it with these hot take episodes, and I thank you guys for tuning into that. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you guys be prepared for Neil and his Battlegrounds episode, because I'm really excited about that one as a viewer as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. Go Bulls, y'all. Peace.